hello everyone. Welcome to another episode. But this time I'm a guest, and today I'm gonna introduce everyone to a new section, paano magkaroon ng trabaho agad sa tech industry. So I'm Rafi Isumbing. I also have a channel of my own, but today we'll talk about this very interesting question on work in the IT industry.
Yes, tamang-tama yan. And guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel, Sir Rafi. And we will be answering. Hindi clickbait yung title na nakikita nyo. Sasagutin talaga namin yan. Pero before anything else, ang first question natin is regarding your channel po. What is YoungCTO?
Right, thank you for that, no? And thank you for having me here. So YoungCTO actually started as by the name itself, it really refers to me myself, since I've been a CTO for a very long time, and I started at a very young age. Initially, it started mostly with AWS content or Amazon Web Services content, but lately we've been interviewing a lot of IT professionals, from managers to CTOs also, and even some QAs, because they are developers as well, and other ranges of in their career.
Ayan po. And following up the question po, what is a CTO?
Yes, so CTO stands for Chief Technology Officer, right? And so this is the C-level position. So normally what you see in a company is the CEO, right? The equivalent in a tech company, usually it's paired with a CTO or Chief Technology Officer. A lot of the times, the CTO is also a co-founder actually for a startup. And the CTO role is really to define the technology and the direction of the company. Sometimes the product itself is even under the CTO.
Oh, that's very interesting po. However, what are the common misconceptions po of being a CTO, especially if the role itself is very huge na din po, and it covers a lot, such including project. So what are the misconceptions about it po?
Right. So there's a couple, no? So let me start off with age. So there's a lot of misconception about the age of a CTO, whether you can be a full-fledged CTO at a very young age, or you really need a lot of maturity or age, no? Like mga 40, 50. So I would say that's a one misconception. In terms of age, it's not about the age, but mostly about your decision-making skills, how fast you can decide, and how well you can process the information, and I guess how brave you are. So CEOs can be very young, CTOs can also be very young, right? Experience also really helps, but it really depends on the stage of the company. The second misconception could be, for example, is the CTO a rockstar developer, right? So depending on the stage of the company, in startups, a lot of times the CTO is indeed a rockstar developer. Why? Because they need to move very fast and very agile, and so that the CTO acts like the lead developer. So it really depends on the stage of the company. Sometimes indeed your CTO doesn't have to be the rockstar developer anymore over the couple of years, and you have now the CTO has to pass on the rockstar title to his teammates instead.
So pagdating po ba sa CTO, naka-inline po siya as a developer, or anyone can be on that role to achieve that role po?
Right. So I would say mas align siya to a developer, no? But anyone can actually be a CTO as long as you are tech savvy, right? There are advantages being a developer, because you understand the ground and you are there at the beginning, especially for startups. But it can be anyone as long as you have the passion to understand technology and you do a lot of technical research.
Okay po. In line with that, What are the top 3 in-demand careers in tech? Especially you're interviewing mga CTOs and other professionals in the industry. What are the common mga top 3 na nakikita niyo pong in-demand, especially here in the Philippines?
Right. So number one, the developer or software developer is always there. Especially now moving to full stack because of to really leverage a lot of these technologies, you have to be able to understand the front, the back, the infrastructure, so that you can achieve a lot of harmony between these components. No? So full stack developer is always on demand. It hasn't changed, and in fact, with the globalization, because of work from home, this has increased some more. We're globally competitive now. The second one that I see is in for companies, because there's a lot of technology companies or consultancy now, because as mentioned, there are companies that are moving to digitization because of the current situation. They need assistance. So there's also a boom in the assistance or the consultancy, the support tech. No, and so with that, cloud engineers, solutions architects, these are or digitizations. These are IT consultants. These are the second that are on demand at the moment. And I think the last one third is moving forward. A lot of our users are really going for mobile or on-the-go devices. So there is a need, or there is an increased demand on mobile app developers as well, right? And it would be great if they're also full stack, but mobile development is still in the early stage, so concentration on that is still also very much appreciated.
Pagdating po sir sa full stack developer, what do you think po are the most in-demand tech stacks that a full stack developer needs? Especially din po with the technology, di ba po ang daming mga frameworks and technologies na ginagamit ngayon.
Right, no. So it depends on the company, no, but you will never go wrong if you go with Node.js, JavaScript, with either you go with Angular, Vue, or React, and then serverless. This is I would say you'll never go wrong with this, because that's really the trend, moving towards harmony. It's JavaScript language, TypeScript on the demand. Simplifies that full stack development, so you don't context switch from one language to another language. That's the I think the future. The other one would be towards Python, because there's a lot of machine learning with infrastructure. So there are a lot of machine learning and AI or statistics languages out there, but combining it with infrastructure on how to increase that throughput for machine learning, artificial intelligence, I think Python is the current forefront for that. And then last one, of course, if you want to be in demand in terms of institutional or some of the older corporate setting, then Java. Java still there. There's still a lot of openings requiring Java, right? Because they have to maintain their existing system and they cannot easily move out of it.
Yes, that's true po. Kahit sa amin, tinuturo pa rin ng Java. Di kami bati ni Java. Charot lang. Pero next question po is, speaking of careers, pwede po ba ako magkaroon ng career or trabaho kahit wala po akong degree sa tech?
Right. So you'll notice this in let's say Silicon Valley, no, and you'd say the Western is more advanced, or at least in terms of timeline, advanced in timeline. The larger companies there, the tech companies, the tech giants, no longer actually look at your graduate or your academic diploma. They really have their own assessment, own testing, so they don't look at that anymore, no? So here in the Philippines, we're catching up. I do see some companies not requiring anymore the degree, right? But we're catching up. But I think for our audience, it's still important. So don't what do you call this? Don't just
Misinterpret.
yeah misinterpret. Don't just drop out, right? And also, I think for me, unless if you can delay working, no, meaning enjoy your youth, enjoy studying. Don't really rush unless you really need to do so.
Yes,
But
that's
based on your
really true.
circumstance.
Yeah, kasi as a working student, I really can relate to that. If di pa naman need mag-work, guys, enjoy your life, your student life. Ayan. And
Right.
next question po, paano po ba maging CTO?
Right. So, paano maging CTO? Again, depende to sa various level of the company, no? The easiest way to be a CTO, like how I started, was me and my friends made a company. And then, obviously, one was on the CEO, although he was also a tech person, a developer also. But because he hold the president CEO title already, then I became the CTO. But then naman, it could have gone other way. No? I could have been the CEO and he could be the CTO, but it just so happens to be that guy.
Ano po yung pinagkaiba, yung significant difference ng CEO sa CTO po?
Right. At that time, in terms of responsibility, yung CEO was, our CEO was acting like the COO as well. Meaning the, regulatory, the business permits, all of these in terms of how to set up and run a business. While yung CTO was more in charge about delivering the technology itself. Maybe the CTO also acts as your infrastructure engineer, the terms of teaching the developers and guiding, doing code review, right? It just so happens in that case for us. Now, the CEO again could also be moving towards more partnerships. So, unless the kasi there are CEOs that are also acting CTOs at the same time. But that means there's just too much in their plate, I would say, unless they really have an established process or they have a very good team already. I wouldn't recommend your CEO and CTO at the same.
Okay po. With that being said, what are the challenges of a CTO?
Right. So one of the challenges of the CTO is, as a developer background, no, before you spend a lot of your time as a developer, and it's important, like I said on my end, because I wanna make sure that I understand my current developers as well. I understand their pain points, I understand their day to day. I'm able to estimate the time it needs to build a solution. But if you're not on the ground as much, of course, there is some decline or entropy on that. So, as one of the challenges as a CTO is to find, and this is what I do, to find mini projects that you can be hands-on on, so that you can still experience the ground up. No? It might not be the most critical ones, but at least you have that experience. So find mini projects on that. The second one, in terms of hard or difficulty of a CTO, and this is not present in all companies, is managing people or their pay scale also, right? We want to make sure that we are competitive. But one of the factors na is globalization or the work from home. So you really have to compete also in terms of limited resources of developers that are with you, that you can get. No? So I think those are some of the challenges as a CTO.
Okay po, before we move on to the last question about related to CTO, they would like to know, ayan, kaya po nila clinic yung video, paano po ba ako magkakaroon ng trabaho agad, especially in the tech industry?
Right, paano magkatrabaho agad sa tech industry? So right now, sabi ko, di ba, may mga very on-demand na IT IT jobs, no? So one of them is indeed the cloud. Why the cloud? Because it's it's still very young here in the Philippines. There's still very much a lack of training and availability of people, and there's also an emergence of cloud competitors, no? So we know that, for example, AWS is one of the biggest, actually is the biggest cloud provider, but there is competition, Alibaba, Oracle, Huawei is actually, they have their own clouds, and if you are knowledgeable in the cloud, you can actually apply that skill immediately to any cloud provider. You might not be as deep immediately, but that's one way, I think, one shortcut way. So if you go with a cloud practitioner title, I believe you can easily get a job as a cloud support engineer.
Okay. So, since that top in demand po is careers, especially here pagdating sa Philippines, is cloud. What are your suggestions po sa learning resources, since you have mentioned din po na wala masyadong, if I have heard it right po, practitioners po, di ba, and training sa cloud?
Yeah. So kulang yung practitioners, and medyo may kamahalan ang official training, no? Medyo may kamahalan ang official training. And so actually, I was mentioning, tama din yung question mo. In terms of resource, there's actually a lot of community-driven and free resource. Hindi lang official training itself. You can actually get the cloud practitioner, and since I teach Sunday groups, I've seen myself now, within 3 weeks to 4 weeks, you can actually get certified as a cloud practitioner. So you have the cloud concepts already, and it's industry grade, right? So, and we've done it at almost no cost. When I say almost no cost, because we have to invest in ourselves sometimes, and putting a monetary, kahit sabihin natin 1,000 pesos, hindi naman pumupunta sa akin yon. Usually pumupunta yan sa testing center, so that may parang may commitment sa nag-aaral. Alam mo yan, pag nakalabas ka ng konting pera, kahit sabihin natin 100 pesos pa yan, sayang yung 100 pesos mo. So dapat mag-aaral ka talaga para masulit, no, yung 100 pesos na yan. So just putting a investment in yourself, no? Kasi kung hindi mo manlagay yung small investment to yourself, baka tamarin ka lang, sabihin mo, ay, wala namang nawala sa akin, oras lang. What a lot of us don't consider is actually time is very much a investment also. Pero since yung time is not as concrete, so to some, better yung may pera, may money to help them motivate a bit more, no? So set aside lang that money content.
Ayun, ang pinaka-highlight talaga nitong ating content is invest in yourself. Kung gusto mo magkaroon ng trabaho agad sa tech, ayan, mag-invest ka sa sarili mo. Thank you so much, Sir Rafi. And with our final question, what are your recommended learning resources naman po in becoming a CTO?
Right. So, for me kasi, medyo parang accidental CTO ako, no? Sa base sa story, right? But, there are a couple of things, no? I would say look at parang artista, di ba? Minsan gusto mo makita, ma-visualize sino yung mga CTOs out there, or sino yung mga pwede kang maging. So look at, for example, CEOs that are engineers. So these are, alam naman natin sino to, no? Ito yung si Mark Zuckerberg, di ba? Developer siya, yung background niya. Si Bill Gates, developer din yung background niya. Hindi ako sure kay Steve Jobs kung developer din background niya. Kailangan ko i-double check, no? Pero ito yung mga engineers talaga. That's one. And because of that, yung sa YoungCTO, I've been featuring yung mga engineers din, or mga developers, mga QA managers na previously developers, no? So that you can visualize how their life is, or what they did, and maybe you can pick up some tips from them as well.
Yes, guys, I will be plugging Sir Rafi's channel and other social media accounts. Yes! Ayan, tamang-tama. And guys, before we end the video, make sure to also check our collaboration on his channel. Ayan, nilalagay din natin yung video. And unfortunately, that ends our interview, and I hope you guys learned a lot. Ako, marami talaga ako natutunan. And don't forget to share etong learnings with others by sharing this video. And thank you so much, Sir Rafi, for taking the time to be with us today. More collabs soon about, ayan, Cloud, AWS, and CTO. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for your time, and I will see you again soon. Bye!
Thank you.